Murtz Jaffer here with the winner, Ty. Ty, how's it going? Congratulations.
Very much. I'm doing well. Lots of mixed emotions, but obviously I'm happy that I was able to pull off the win against all odds.
We all know about your competition wins, but there are many fans who believe that you got to the end just because no one else could beat you. Does the fact that Claudia chose to cut Daniel instead of you prove your social game more than anything else?
I think that was also something that was completely overlooked. The fact that I was able to convince a showmance who actually put me on the block at one point to actually bring me to a final two with her. But I didn't want to put it all on Claudia. At the end of the day, there was other moves that I made in my social game that proved that I did have a social game. Just because it wasn't orthodox or wasn't, completely visible to everybody, didn't mean that it wasn't there. So I did make sure that I highlighted some of my social moves in my my final plea to the jury, and I hope people received it the way it was meant to come off. But nonetheless, like I said, by final six, my social game came to fruition. It was pretty blatant that I was able to keep myself off the block after being on the block multiple weeks in a row. And it was because I was able to talk my way to that point.
You went from contemplating self-eviction with Zach to choosing to stay in the house. Can you take me through that decision and how happy you are that you chose to stay in the game?
Yeah, of course, I'm superbly happy that I did not self-evict. But there was three main reasons why I decided not to do that. First of all, the reason why I was even contemplating it is that Zach was my right-hand guy. And given the circumstances on why he was choosing to self-evict, I almost felt like, I felt wronged as well in terms of my game and how I was maneuvering the house. So me being the loyal guy that I am, I was kind of like, if my guy's leaving, I'm going to leave too. But like I said, there was a couple of reasons why I decided to stay after all. The number one was we all got letters from home to kind of rectify that situation. And my letter was from my mom. And one of the things she said in the letter was that, seeing me on Big Brother Canada was one of the greatest joys of her life. So I did not want to take that away from her. Number two, my showmance with Claudia was just starting to pick up at that point, and I didn't want to abandon her in the game. I genuinely saw myself playing with her. I loved her a lot as a person, as a player. So I didn't want to, like I said, leave her high and dry. And the last but not least, my pride. I was like, man, you guys think you're about to take out, two of the biggest players in the house at that time? No, I'm about to come back in and make things right for my guy, Zach. So that's exactly what I did.
Now that the game is over, can you give me your thoughts on Hope and the letter incident? In your opinion, should he have been allowed to stay?
If we're just playing the game by the rules, I do not think he should have been allowed to stay. However, I do respect Big Brother's decision and on how they chose to rectify the situation. Ultimately, their decision didn't, alter my outcome of my game right through that. So I'm not upset about it. And even after talking with Hope and understanding his reasoning behind doing what he did, I understood, and I told him I just wish he would have talked to me before making that decision, because even if he decided that he wanted to stay in the game, I could have made that happen safely without risking Zach. You know what I mean? So I just wish there was more communication on both sides. We are in a great space right now. So we were able to get past that point. And he's one of my favorite players in the game. So yeah.
Speaking of that whole letter incident, Kuzi went after you and Zach for going after Hope, but then you managed to ally with her. How did your dynamic with Kuzi change?
Yeah, obviously that situation affected both Kuzi and my game, right? So we were both on opposite ends of that situation. If it had worked out in my favor, it would have worked against her. And if it worked out in her favor, it was going to work against me, right? So we were obviously, not seeing the game from the same vantage point at that time. And I understood that. But at the same time, we both had a respect level for each other, I think, that superseded any, instances in the game that we weren't seeing eye to eye. And by the end of the game, I think she respected me enough and seeing that I was as honest and as good to her as I possibly could have been, given everything she had done to me up until that point. And I think that's why she was able to leave the game during eviction, viewing me on the pedestal that she did.
Do you think your win has changed the way Big Brother is played in terms of alpha male players now seeing an example who can basically win their way to the end? Is that something we haven't really seen before?
Yeah, I will say that, yes, winning competitions is key, but I also lost competitions at critical times that could have cost me the game. And that is where my social game did make up and fill those gaps, right? So I don't want to be seen as a player who simply won their way to the end, because I did not win every competition. I won a lot, but I also lost at crucial times that could have cost me the game. And like I said, my social game and the respect that people had for me allowed me to position myself where I was not in danger. And that was clear from the final six moving forward.
When Anika won HOH and nominated Claudia and Renee, you won the veto and removed Claudia. How much did that decision help you in terms of Claudia then returning the favor and taking you to final two?
Yeah, I think that decision for me was the best decision I could have made. it was clear to me at that point that Claudia would be my final two in the most ideal situation. So I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to keep her safe. And I did exactly what I needed to. I won the veto and pulled her off. In terms of my situation with Anika, I think that, obviously I broke her trust, but at the same time, I felt like at that moment, she couldn't tell me anything because I just saved her the week prior, doing the same thing. I broke Claudia's trust to save Anika, and then I had to break Anika's trust to save Claudia, because at the end of the day, both of them would have been gone if either of them got their way. You know what I mean?
You started the game with a huge boys alliance, but then played almost the entire game by yourself. Is it easier to work with a group of people whose trust you're always sort of having to question, or is it better to just play by yourself and just know what you got to do by yourself?
I think both of those things will have its own unique challenges. Working with guys, of course, you're gonna have this ego situation where everybody wants to be the top dog. Unfortunately, there's only one top dog in the house, and that was me. But nonetheless, even playing, the solo game, the lone wolf, that comes with its own challenges as well. I have everybody looking at me as, the guy to get out because I am the comp beast or whatever. So all eyes are on me in terms of being a target, and I had to fight my way to safety every single week until it was a turning point in my game where the power shifted into my hands. So both sides had their pros and cons, and I was just prepared to deal with whatever challenges came with the situation I was in.
You were in a showmance with Claudia. How real are your feelings for her, or was your relationship with her just a way of strategically getting her on your side?
No, I think that, well, I know that my feelings for her are completely genuine, but I do think that obviously being a showmance, again, has its pros and cons. You have a guaranteed number for you. However, people also see a showmance as a threat. So I think that was her hesitation on moving forward with the showmance with me, kind of midway through the game. And she said she needed to be seen as, separating from me because she was scared to sit beside me on the block. And I would be scared to sit beside me too, because we know my history with vetoes, right? So I respected her decision to, protect her game. I'm just happy we were able to circle back at the end and really, pull through for each other and see it through.
You seemed insistent to take Shania out during the double eviction. Why was she such a threat to your game?
Because she was holding the position that I needed to fill. She was the person right in the middle of the house. She was good with Anika and Daniel C. She was good with Renee and Claudia, sorry. And both sides would have been keeping her safe, and she would have held the power. So I knew that if I could take her out, then I essentially held that new power. And that's exactly what happened. I put myself in the position that she was in, and I basically was playing both sides of the house to keep myself safe, keep myself off the block, and basically dictate who was going home every week.
If you had won the final HOH, would you have taken Claudia?
I would have 1000% taken Claudia. I didn't come into Big Brother with the goal of an easy win. I won 9 comps. I proved myself as a competitor. So what justice would I do be standing next to somebody who I don't think played the game as hard as I did? Claudia played a hell of a game. She was the next comp beast after me, and she deserved to get her flowers. Unfortunately, she didn't win over me, but I think that, and I hope that she's proud of the game she's played and the decision she made to, if you're going to make it to a final 2 and say that you won a game, in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. And I was the best in that game. So I'm glad that she made that decision, and she should be proud of it.
And last question, if Claudia had taken Daniel instead of you, who would have won the game and who would you have voted for?
I potentially, well, it's hard to tell with the jury because, there's so many things involved in that, and I don't know what they're talking about, the jury table. But I do think Claudia probably still could have pulled out that win. However, I do think that because of how highly people viewed me, they may have looked at her a different way for cutting me at the end, and may have even shifted over to wanting to see Daniel C win over her. So I can't really say who would have won, but she still would have gotten my vote.
Amazing. Ty, congrats. Thank you so much.
Anytime, I appreciate it.